This right here is a phone I thought would be too good to be true, but trust me, there's a reason I decided to make this video nearly 2 months later. See, Motorola isn't new to making foldables, but this is the first book-style approach, and historically, most companies get first-generation products all wrong. I seriously thought there was no way they could pull it off, and, well, let's just say that I was kind of wrong. See, the reason I felt this Moto RAZR Fold would be just too good if they got it right is because this is actually one of only a few options right now where people in the United States can experience some of the new technological benefits we get to see abroad, not just in features, but also in price point. I'm Jaime Rivera, and let me explain to you why in my extended review. So for a bit of context, by now I'm sure you've already heard many of us describe just how much better phones have become in China, from truly ultra camera capabilities to crazy thin designs to insane battery packs within those tiny footprints. Like, yeah, why is it that the US and Korean companies we're used to continue to brush off some of these new options? That might be a story for another video. For now, let me tell you why you should care about this particular phone. First of all, it starts at $1,900. I know, foldables are not cheap, but if I were to do a simple comparison, it stands between the Pixel 10 Pro Fold, which is $100 cheaper, and Samsung's Galaxy Z Fold 7, which is $100 more expensive. But then that's just the price point. Once you look into what you're getting from Motorola, it's not even worth me doing a separate video comparison. Starting with hardware, even if the RAZR is not out to break any records, I'll easily say this is my favorite design, though for what you can get in the West, that is. Seriously, who said that glass-on-glass was the best material for a product this expensive and which you can easily drop? This black and blue variant features a durable cross-hatched nylon weave texture that feels so good in the hand that putting it on a case almost feels wrong, and especially because it has remained clean throughout my nearly 2 months of testing. And then there are the little things that make the difference, like a camera bar that's wide enough to avoid the ridiculous table wobble we get to see from others, in addition to an odd set of curves on the borders of this Gorilla Glass Ceramic 3, which actually make it easier to open and close. Seriously, hold it next to an iPhone 17 Pro Max and notice that there's not really much of a difference. Now, the internals are a bit controversial. If not, I'd call them confusing. See, this phone is powered by the Snapdragon 8 Gen 5, which, yes, even I misunderstood as an 8 Elite, but nope. That said, it's the same N3P architecture, same newer Orion Gen 3 cores, it's just less clock speed, smaller GPU, and max RAM speed. I know, it's kind of a mixed bag even compared to the 8 Elite Gen 1. That said, we have great starting RAM, and storage is pretty much double for this price point in the United States at least. We have great connectivity, comparable water resistance, but then the battery is where things get even more interesting. See, this is the first book-style foldable in the West to bring a massive 6,000 mAh silicon carbon battery, which not only dwarfs the Z Fold and Pixel, but the charging speeds are insane. 80 watts wired, 50 watts wireless, 5 watt reverse wireless, and then these displays bring other advantages you can hardly find in the West. On the outside, we're talking of a slightly larger panel that provides far more color gamut, but then it's almost 3 times brighter at peak than all competitors here. And then you also won't easily find the 165Hz refresh rate on the West either. And sure, the inside only goes up to 120Hz, but then the colors and the brightness are also just as fantastic here, and since the crease is quite minimal and the speakers are plenty rich, I've loved consuming content on this phone a lot. The 50 megapixel primary we had before and the 32 megapixel. But then maybe my favorite feature that both these panels support is the new Moto Pen Ultra. Like, yeah, I know it's not a convenient carry, but anyone looking for an S Pen alternative, this solution is better in many ways, and the user interface is benefited by it. See, it's an active pen, so it works through Bluetooth. As such, it works on both the outer display and the inner panel, and then the tip is refined enough to glide like a Sharpie for notes, and it does include multiple remote commands for convenience, which I'm sure Galaxy S Ultra users are going to appreciate. Actually, let's just dive into the software experience a little deeper, as we've already pretty much started. Motorola is quite the controversial company because while I love the user interface, yes, software support and updates are pretty lacking. It's sad because I'd say this is easily one of my favorite approaches to Android. This is Material 3 expressive, so visuals are as good as it gets, but then it's matched with the Motorola enhancements that I've loved since, the Moto X? Chop chop for the flash, wrist flick for the camera, but that's just half the story when it comes to gestures. The always on display brings a ton of character, which is later augmented by the convenience of the buttons for notifications. Multitasking 3 applications at once follows what Oppo does, which is far more useful than trying to cram things like you do with the Galaxy Z. There is an extra AI key, which, is great to have, but you can only switch it on or off unless you do a double tap for useful features like Catch Me Up or the Pay Attention voice recorder. I wish I could use this for Gemini features instead of Copilot, as it's not necessarily my cup of tea, but hey, maybe it is for you. So yeah, there's variety and a ton of common sense in the features, but the reason I took this long to make my review was because of the bugs. Michael Fisher goes into a ton of detail in his review I recommend you watch. I can now confirm that the June software update pretty much squashed my complaints, so hey, it seems that Moto has gotten better in this department. We'll see over time. Overall, this has been pretty much one of my 2 foldables of choice for intermittent weeks, mainly because, connectivity on this phone is epic. I've tested it in concerts and even a recent World Cup match, and Verizon and this phone are like chef's kiss for reliability. I also continue to believe Motorola does phone calls better than every competitor, mimicking the quality of a landline, and if you're old enough to remember that feeling, it was pretty great. Also, battery life has been just too good, which proves that efficient horsepower might actually be a better idea for this form factor. In my typical fashion, using this phone with my trusty old iGo keyboard has been great for productivity on the go, though I won't lie, I wish it did have magnets like the Pixel 10 Pro Fold. Now, the massive stove plate on the back that houses these cameras has been interesting. Yeah, the specifications are here with 3 50-megapixel shooters. Before the software update, inconsistent was probably the best way to describe it in one word. So again, I'm glad I waited because this is one of the phones that I brought to the World Cup game, and the results were pretty good. I mean, have a look at these photos. The odd exposures of the initial launch were gone, and not just for great color and contrast, but also a shutter that's fast enough to capture Canada versus South Africa with confidence. I seriously took these photos not expecting much because most companies get movement wrong, and I was pleasantly surprised. Motorola has clearly worked on giving its post-processing the character we've come to expect from a flagship, and that was independent of what focal length I chose. Now at night, I'd say the phone does an admirable job if you stick to the primary camera, with detail struggling a bit if you switch lenses, and where exposure time is not as easy to control as with other phones. Portraits and selfies are actually better than expected, with good dynamic range, even if you can't really tell as you're taking the photo, and also a pretty wide field of view to make them more pleasing. That being said, when it comes to video, like most Android phones, the results are okay. They're not amazing, particularly when you zoom in. Detail is lost, and so is dynamic range, but it's odd because I didn't really notice it on the phone. It's once you pull the footage into a computer that you get to see something is just completely off. Now, I won't even waste your time with selfie video because this is either a bug or a terrible idea. So, the phone does record 4K at 60 FPS, but only from the internal camera, which, why? It makes no sense to put more resolution on the internal module than on the outside. So, I mean, it can do it, but just do yourself a favor, don't be that person. To conclude, I think it's important to pretty much state the obvious. Motorola might be late to the book-style foldable category, but there seriously is no curse of the early adopter with this RAZR Fold. It's got better materials than its competitors, better specs than most in the essentials that matter. It brings perks that serve those who felt abandoned by competitors. And if you look at storage options, this phone actually turns out cheaper than the rest, which is particularly valuable right now with the RAM and storage price hikes. Now that I've tested it after the updates, I have no problem in recommending this phone. It's almost like the culmination of a new Motorola that no longer is playing catch-up. Seriously, the reason this first generation Fold feels as good or superior as Gen 3 on one end and Gen 7 on the other is probably because it's clearly not built to compete with them. This is the closest you're going to get in the United States to the Oppos and the Vivos that we tech reviewers have enjoyed for years. So yeah, trust me when I say you gotta give this phone a try. Let me know if you agree with my assessment in the comments below, and while you're at it, please like, subscribe, and join the conversation in the comments, as I'm sure you see me try to respond to as many as I can. Also, follow me on social media as more behind-the-scenes work continues to happen there. I'm Jaime Rivera. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you on the next one.